6 months ago, Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou left Vancouver, Canada after a nearly 3-year battle against the US government. Last week, Meng made her first public appearance since she returned back to China, and this was a very symbolic moment for Huawei. Has the US government been successful in stopping the growth of Huawei? I analyzed Huawei's most recent annual report and found an interesting discovery. While revenue dropped approximately 29% in the past year, the company reported an incredible 76% year-on-year increase in profit. The US government sanctioned Huawei to slow down one of China's most dominant tech companies. But have US sanctions actually helped make Huawei stronger? Let's take a closer look in today's video. Why is it important for us to analyze a company like Huawei? We'll take a look at this article from Visual Capitalist entitled The Most Innovative Companies of 2021. Huawei is the only Chinese company that ranks in the top 10 and is an impressive 5 spots ahead of Facebook. This list was created by Boston Consulting Group, who surveyed over 1,500 innovation executives. But how exactly does Huawei rank so high on this list? I think it's important to note that Huawei really isn't a Chinese company, but rather a global company with tens of thousands of non-Chinese staff who are employed around the world, and most of them work in research and development. Actually, I first learned about Huawei's investments in R&D when the 2020 version of this report was released. During this survey, Huawei jumped an impressive 42 spots to be named the number 6 most innovative company in the world, even ahead of Tesla. Despite US sanctions and a worldwide pandemic, Huawei spent over $22 billion in R&D in 2021, which accounts for over 22% of its total revenue. Analyzing Huawei is important because the company is a microcosm of China. Both China and Huawei have had major challenges to deal with in recent years. For Huawei, its largest troubles have been the US sanctions and getting access to the latest generation of chip technology. But despite these challenges, Huawei is very much like China. When its back is against the wall, it will inevitably pivot and find an alternative solution. And this is the biggest takeaway I learned from analyzing this report: the fundamental shift Huawei has made to survive. Guo Ping, the rotating chairman of Huawei, stated, "If it weren't for US sanctions, Huawei would have not forced itself into this comprehensive turnaround." This is in fact an important element of Chinese culture one must understand. For many companies, being sanctioned by the US would be a devastating blow, a crisis that could potentially ruin the entire business. However, the second character in the Chinese word for crisis, 危机, is the same as the first character in the Chinese word for opportunity, 机会. In every crisis, there is an opportunity. The greatest opportunity for Huawei is how the Chinese government is transforming into a high-tech economy and global leader in the fourth industrial revolution. This is the application of artificial intelligence and 5G to transform the future of manufacturing, logistics, urban management, and transportation. The concept of using AI and 5G to enhance productivity, improve safety standards, and produce more ecological solutions is something many in the West are just starting to realize. The best example of this I can provide can be seen in the Container Port Performance Index of 2020. China has 6 of the 10 most efficient ports in the world, where AI and 5G technology have increased the port's efficiency, safety, and reliability. In contrast, the largest port in the United States in Long Beach, California, is near the bottom of this list, ranking number 333 out of 351. Despite US sanctions and not having access to the fastest chips in the world, Huawei is learning to adapt the technology it does have to produce the best results it can. Think about this in terms of a race car driver. Just because you have the fastest car on the track doesn't guarantee you will win the race. You still have to have the skill to drive the car over the finish line before everyone else. Huawei is applying these technologies to many industries that are often neglected from the West. For Huawei, there is no limit to what AI and 5G technology can do, and the company is applying this tech to transform a variety of industries, including manufacturing, mining, steel, chemical, cement, power grid, and even healthcare. Even the Wall Street Journal highlighted China's rise in this development in its March 13th article entitled, "China leads the way with private 5G networks at industrial facilities." While many in the West believe Huawei's competitive advantage is in building the actual 5G network towers, you have to go inside China's factories, its coal mines, its shipyards and warehouses to see where the 5G technology is really taking off. Again, this is the X factor that most analysts in the West are missing. It's not about building a 5G network, it's using 5G to transform businesses. And Huawei has been a visionary leader in this regard from the beginning. American economist David Goldman, who serves as the deputy editor of Asian Times, recently stated, "Handsets are a mature, low-profit business, and American sanctions were directed at this part of Huawei's business. Strategically, Huawei has moved into a kind of business that is very difficult for American sanctions to stop them. One of the brightest takeaways from this report was the increased profit in Huawei's enterprise business, which is a new sector and includes cloud computing, automotive, and software solutions. Like I mentioned earlier, Huawei is a global organization, and currently 267 companies from Fortune's Global 500 have chosen Huawei as their partner for digital transformation. Huawei is taking on some major new challenges, and the company is learning to adapt with US sanctions and shift into new industries. Neil Shah, research director at Counterpoint Research, states, Huawei is doubling down on pivoting to a software, cloud, and services company. Huawei, with this effort, is becoming like Google. I want to highlight why it was so symbolic for Meng Wanzhou to speak during this annual press conference. Huawei has often used the word resilient to describe both Meng Wanzhou and the company over the past 3 years. Since Donald Trump placed Huawei on a blacklist in 2019 and limited the company's access to high-end chips, Huawei has been pivoting, adapting, and pushing forward for survival. During the annual press conference, Meng Wanzhou stated, despite a revenue decline in 2021, our ability to make a profit and generate cash flows is increasing, and we are more capable of dealing with uncertainty. In closing, I want to share some final thoughts on why Huawei in China is so important to the future of our world, and most specifically, the American market. Since Donald Trump signed the tariff on Chinese goods in August 2019, the United States imports from China have increased 45%. American economist David Goldman believes this shows the U.S. has underinvested in industrial capacity. Simply put, any increase in American consumer demand will cause more purchases of foreign goods, simply because America lacks the capacity to produce things at home. Currently, the United States is in a difficult position. On one side of the equation, our relationship with China is at the lowest point it has ever been in our 50-year relationship. However, the United States is also more dependent on Chinese imports than it has ever been in the past. The United States imports more than $600 billion worth of products a year from China, which is equivalent to a quarter of our manufacturing GDP. And this is something that I have been preaching for over 2 years on this YouTube channel. The very American dream that we live every day couldn't be made possible without a good working relationship with China. In the words of David Goldman, America has a spectacular level of dependency on China, and this shows a major cognitive dissonance in American policy. We hear too often that China is the greatest threat in the world and that we must decouple from China at all costs. But the very state of the American economy depends on a working and functional relationship with China. I hope today's video provides everyone some insights into the importance of working with international companies who are making a difference in this world. Huawei is building 5G networks throughout Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, and investing in a plethora of new industries that could change the future of our world. What do you think of Huawei's shift in their business and their ability to create new pathways of more profitability? Do you think there will ever be a day where Huawei can operate freely in the US market and collaborate with some of the best US tech companies? Someone who believes in building bridges and working together in this global economy, I certainly hope so. Don't forget, Huawei is one of the most innovative companies in the world, and even as an American citizen who is proud of American tech companies, I think it's important to take time to analyze reports like this. It's important to understand what other tech companies around the world are doing in an effort to make our world a better place. Again, we live in a global economy, and it's important that we start building more relationships and bridges, especially with other tech companies. Everyone, my name is Cyrus Jansen. Thanks for taking time out of your day to spend it with me here on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one soon.